Hello and welcome back to Lorcana Villain. My name is Baker, and today I've got 5 more Rogue Decklists for you to try with the release of Lorcana's Set 8 Reign of Jafar. We released a video a couple of days ago looking at my first 5 Rogue deck lists. If you haven't seen that video, it will be linked down below. Do please go check it out. But I've got 5 more Rogue lists to show you. These are putting an emphasis on being a fun deck, playing into the theme of a particular card, a particular archetype. Yes, we're trying to make them as competitively viable as possible, but the priority here is just making something that plays into the theme of a particular franchise card, engine in the game, whatever it might be. So that's the plan for today. Before we start, I do want to give a quick plug. I've mentioned it a couple of times in recent videos. UK Games Expo, which is taking place from Friday the 30th of May till Sunday the 1st of June in Birmingham, England. I will be attending this on the Friday and the Saturday. It's my first time going. I'm really excited. I'm really looking forward to it. On the Friday, there's a ton of events going on over the entire weekend, as you can imagine, but the Friday I'm going to be doing a Reign of Jafar sealed event with some quite impressive prizing. And on Saturday, I'm going to be working for Ravensburger. And I'm really proud of this. This is something that I pitched myself to Ravensburger ages ago, like not long after the reveal of the Palace Heist Illumineers quest. Something that I put forward and has come to fruition, where I'm going to be working for Ravensburger on the Saturday and I'm going to be demoing Reign of Jafar for people, and it's here on their website, which is a really surreal life and career moment for me. That on the official website I'm actually advertised. Visitors will get the chance to meet Disney Lorcana content creator and broadcaster Lorcana Villain Baker on the stand on Saturday, where you can challenge him to a game of Illumineers quest. Tickets for meet and play slot with Lorcana Villain will be available to collect from the stand. So there, it's time slotted. I only have so many slots throughout the day, but I'm really excited for it. If you're going to be at UK Games Expo, let me know. Like I said, on the Friday, I'm going to be playing the Reign of Jafar sealed event and finding any opportunity I can to walk around. So if you see me, do please say hello. On the Saturday, if you end up getting a ticket to come and play against me, awesome. I look forward to it. But if not, I will be like having breaks from time to time. So if you see me over the weekend and you're there, do please say hello. I'm going to be able to get some content. I'm not sure exactly how much. I'm going to be taking my camera with me, and I'll get as much content as I can to be able to show on the channel. But yeah, I just wanted to advertise that a little bit, but we're going to jump into 5 Rogue decks for Set 8. A quick shout out to the channel sponsor Cardmarket. If you're looking for Lorcana singles at competitive rates, then check out Cardmarket. But let's look at 5 Rogue decks for the Reign of Jafar. Alright, we're going to be starting off with some EA Pull the Lever, Crunk. Wrong lever! So, we got a couple of very interesting, new, very thematic cards. Or we are going to be getting them soon with the release of Reign of Jafar. First of all, we have an Emerald Amethyst dual link action, Pull the Lever. 3-cost inkable action. Either you can draw 2 cards, or each opponent chooses and discards a card. Pretty good. A 3-cost action that draws you 2 cards we already know to be good from Frenzy on the other side. Yes, this can't be sung, which is a big difference, but the flexibility that this provides to be either the card draw or discard, I think is really, really good. But what makes it a lot better is the synergy it has with a couple of other cards. We've also got Wrong Lever. 3-cost inkable action. Choose 1. Return chosen character to their player's hand. So this is a Mother Knows Best, but not a song, but the same cost and inkable, very important. Or put a card named Pull the Lever from your discard on the bottom of your deck to put chosen character on the bottom of their player's deck. So just bouncing a character back to a player's hand, like sometimes is necessary if you're bouncing a shark or just a big body that's just got to go. That's already good, but obviously it's a -1 to you. The majority of the time they're not losing any cards, they're just losing some board tempo. But if you can make them lose that tempo and lose the card by putting it at the bottom of their deck, that's suddenly a lot better. It reminds me a little bit of, going back to my Yu-Gi-Oh days, Rise of the Storm Monarch, which was a monster that, on play, you would choose a monster to put on the top of your opponent's deck. So, getting back some board tempo, giving them a -1, and forcing them to top deck back into that card, which sometimes would be good, sometimes would be bad. This is obviously the bottom of the deck, but still really solid removal. If you don't have a Pull the Lever in the discard, then you are at the very least bouncing something back to their hand. So I think these two are pretty cool. And then we are also getting a new Yzma on Edge. This artwork is incredible. 6 cost uninkable, 3/6 quest for 2. And why do we even have that lever? When you pull this oh my bad gold. When you play this character, if you have a card named Pull the Lever in your discard, you may search your deck for a card named Wrong Lever and reveal that card to all players. Put that card into your hand and shuffle your deck. So just tutoring a specific card from your deck, and specifically a card that is like some such solid removal. Again, assuming you've got the Pull the Lever in the discard, which you would have to have had to trigger Yzma's ability, then pulling out this Wrong Lever for free to just say goodbye to something, and the fact that it's the bottom of the deck and not banished is relevant in a couple of circumstances, something like Mufasa, any ability that's triggered when the character is banished. Even things like Chernodog, who want things in the discard for Lady, for Chernobog, things like that. So I think this 3-card trio is actually really solid. Now, this deck in particular, we are playing very much into the Emperor's New Groove theme. You can see in a moment we're going to look at the big boy Kuzco. Now, what I've built here is the funner version of a deck that is already very good. Like, you look at a lot of this deck, like the 1, 2s, 3s and 4 drops, with the exception of Jock, are all super solid cards that we know are good. We've got Goats for Lore Game, Rabbits to draw us cards. I've gone with 2 Genies as well, so that we've got the aggro option and again more card draw. I'm playing a split 3 Crab and 4 Yolana. Essentially, I'm thinking of it as 5th Crab, but Yolana, in some situations, the Challenger 2 is going to be enough with the Kuzco, or like the Diablo into a Smee that's already taken a damage, something like that. And the questing for 2, I think, is more important to this mid-range sort of deck. So yeah, first line and a half, I'm sure no one has any questions and are all really solid cards. And then when you look at the top end, I genuinely think that the Yzma, the Pull the Lever and the Wrong Lever, and the Pull the Lever and the Wrong Lever is a really solid engine that I do think certain variants of Emerald Amethyst will adopt in the competitive meta. I think at the very least, Pull the Lever and Wrong Lever, there's going to be certain versions of this deck that are going to run these 4/4, and they're going to be really, really good, solid cards. Maybe it's 1 Yzma, maybe it's 2, maybe it's none. For this deck, like I said, I'm leaning more into the theme, but I think just this 3-card engine in itself is super good and will have an impact on the meta. But we're playing into the Emperor's New Groove theme. We're running 4 copies of Kuzco Wanted Llama, already a great consistency 2-drop to work with Crabs and Yolanas. And we're also playing the Floodborn Impulsive Llama, 7 cost inkable, 5/5 quest for 2. Shift 4, and when you play this character, each opponent chooses one of their characters and puts that card on the bottom of their deck. Then each opponent may draw a card. So this is okay. Again, your opponent chooses, so likes of Tremaine and Be King Undisputed, or more specifically for an Emerald card, the Mother Gothel, that makes your opponent choose a character to bounce back to their hand. But the fact that this is actually removing something from the board, and like, again, we just talked about the benefits of Wrong Lever, if there's a Pull the Lever in your discard and you're putting the card to the bottom, that's a really, really solid removal effect. And this is just as likely to hit the card you want it to as a Tremaine has ever been. And we know how good Tremaine can be. Quite often she will get her target. So I do think this is a fairly solid card. Maybe this Kuzco does end up having a place in the competitive Emerald Amethyst decks going forward, especially because its shift target is something that already sees a bunch of play. He's inkable, maybe it's not a 3 count, maybe it's none, maybe you don't play the Yzma or the Kuzco and it's just Pull the Lever and Wrong Lever. These are the ones I'm the most sure are going to be a part of our competitive meta. I think Yzma, as maybe a 1 or a 2 of, has a strong chance. Kuzco, it's going to depend on space, but again, it is a really solid effect on and shifting onto a character we want to play anyway. And then the only other things to really talk about that's out of the ordinary for Emerald Amethyst, you've noticed I'm running 1 copy of Sea Witch Queen, not out of the ordinary at all, but just to draw attention to it, just a solid card. We're running the 2-drop Ursula anyway, and this is great for shutting down Singers. And then the spicy ones, I'm running 2 copies of Jock, 4 cost inkable, 3/4 quest for 1. When you play this character, if you have 3 or more other characters in play, gain 2 lore. I think this is a pretty solid card. For good odds that we're going to have those at least 3 characters at regular intervals in the game. So I think the 2 passive lore that this can provide is really good. Yes, if you have no characters or 1 or 2, then this is essentially doing nothing. It's only a 2 of, it's inkable, but in those situations, which I think will be common enough that this does trigger, I think that's a super solid ability. And you can even return it back to your hand with something like Madam Minfox. In Emerald, there's something like the Chapter 1 Hans, who's a 4-cost inkable, 3/3, and just quest for 3 outright. But the fact that this is just gain the lore as soon as you put the card down, like, you know, that makes a big difference, right? I'm sure I don't need to talk to you about the importance of playing a goat before your opponent has a chance to quest for game themselves. So I think Jock is a solid card that will see an appearance in a variety of Emerald decks that feel like they can go wide. Maybe he's not right for this particular 60, but I wanted to feature him here. And then I'm even running 1 copy of Magicka Dispel Shadow Form, goated art, mate. 5-cost uninkable, 3/3, quest for 2, evasive, and Dance of Darkness. When you play this character, you may return another chosen character of yours to your hand to draw a card. Now, we know that the bounce effects that come of courtesy of foxes and snakes are good anyway. We're running foxes in here, running rabbits in here, we're running goats in here. So this potential to bounce something back already has its benefits, as we know. We get to draw a card for using the Dance of Darkness and doing so. So you can imagine curving like Rabbit, and then turn 5, Sing Friends, bounce Magicka Dispel, and then you're drawing an extra card just because you return the rabbit to your hand. Like, that's a lot of card draw. The fact that this is evasive as well and questing for 2, I just think this is really well statted. I think you could find a room for a second one of these, and I wouldn't hate it. Not to mention, being an evasive is going to benefit from the Peter Pan as Shadow Finder, who we see here. He's mostly here just to be an answer to Diablo. Of course, being able to give Rush to Genies and this one Magicka Dispel is nice to have. Obviously, we're not running high counts of them. So yeah, the Peter Pan Shadow Finder is mostly here just to be a Diablo answer. But of course, in conjunction with something like a Merlin Crab, can deal with a Maui Shark, or a Magicka Dispel plus a Yolana can deal with a Maui Shark. So overall, I think this is a really solid deck. Like, I think if you took out the Jocks and the Kuzcos, you've already got the template for a perfectly reasonable meta Emerald Amethyst deck. And then it's just deciding what are we replacing those cards with. But I think there's a solid case to keep at least one, maybe both the Yzma. Jock is obviously flexible, and so is the Floodborn Kuzco, but I still think this Kuzco ability is strong enough that maybe it does end up seeing competitive play. So this is another one of the rogue decks that I think actually could be quite close to being a competitive deck in and of itself. If you want to lean a little bit more into the Emperor's New Groove theme, you could run the 1-cost Inkable Royal Guard Octopus Soldier, 1/2 quest for 1. Whenever you draw a card, this character gets Challenger 1 this turn. So like I said, plays a bit more into the theme of Emperor's New Groove. And there is potential for this soldier to draw an awful lot of cards. Just drawing for turn, it's going to give him Challenger 1, so now he's a 2/2 essentially. And if you find a turn where you can like Sing Friends on the other side, now suddenly he's a 4/2. Maybe you also play Pull the Lever. Now he's hitting for 6. Like, he's not bad at all. Like, if you want to include him, I think that's a super solid inclusion. But yeah, that's it for Wrong Lever. Alright, temper expectations straight away. Of all the rogue decks that I've shown, I think this is the worst. Probably by quite a lot. But we have enough puppy-related cards that we can build a full-on puppy deck and, like, have it feel like it is a full-on puppy deck, because it's the majority of the cards. But, yeah, obviously I'm about to talk you through all the fun and unique things that this deck could do, but I think this deck is the ultimate definition of a very famous saying from Lorcana Decklists, which was, that all sounds great unless you've got an opponent on the other side of the table, and then it's probably going to all fall apart. But nonetheless, if you're keen to cook with puppies, then this is what I'm rocking with. And after we've looked through the list, I'll look at a couple of other puppy cards and sort of like tell you why I'm not running them, but, you know, if you wanted to include them, like, cuts I would make, things like that. So, we're just trying to be puppy aggro. We want to get as many characters onto the board. We're not doing anything fancy. We don't have any removal. We just want to build up our ink as much as possible, and then play out as many of these aggro characters as we can, and allow for these puppies to have synergies. So let's look at all the puppies. First of all, we've got Patch, 1-cost uninkable, 0/2 quest for 1 ward, and if you have another puppy in play, this character gets +1 lore. Being warded is pretty cool. It's not being stormed, not being cannons, anything like that. Obviously, obviously if you're going to do this, then you really want a puppy that you can play on curve, and we are playing 4 copies of Freckles, 2 cost Inkable 2, 2 quests for 1, and on play, all opposing characters get -1 strength. Now, like I said, after we've looked through this list, I'm going to look at the other puppy cards and talk through them a little bit. You will notice straight away we're not running the Tail Wagger Dalmatian puppy, which is a character that we could also play to play into this curve, but I'm not a huge fan of that Dalmatian puppy. I want all my puppies to do something. So the way I see it, if I've got this Freckles to curve this, then I'll play Patch. If not, then I'll play one of my own other 1-drops instead. And again, the Freckles ability, like, it's not amazing, but this -1 strength could matter at some point. Maybe you're able to take out something and survive. Like I said, I just want my puppies to do things. I'm running 3 copies of Pongo, one of our best card draw options. We are running 4 copies of Rapunzel, and I'll point out straight away, our best ways to set this up are either the Perdita, who has a 1/4 stat line, or the Daisy Duck herself. That's how we're hopefully going to trigger Rapunzel. But yeah, Pongo, you pay 2 ink. Look at the top card of your deck. If it's a character, you add it to your hand. We're only running 4 non-character cards, which are for sale. So good odds for this to hit. And again, if we can build up our ink quickly, and then Pongo can use his ability multiple times. So hopefully that's going to be a nice way to refresh our hand. We're running 2 copies of Pepper, 3 cost Inkable 2, 2 quests for 1. Whenever one of your puppy characters is banished, you may put that card into your inkwell face down and exerted. So hey, maybe we are able to go Patch into Freckles into Pepper. So now if they are challenging and taking out Patch, then it's going straight into our inkwell. So I think that's pretty cool. I mentioned Perdita. Let's go back to her briefly. 2 cost Inkable 1/4 quest for 1 and an extra willpower if there's a puppy on the board. 5 willpower would mean that she's quite hard to remove, and she's also a shift option for our Floodborn Perdita, who we'll get to in a moment. And like I mentioned, her synergy with Rapunzel. An old puppy, we've got Lucky, 4 cost uninkable 2, 3 quests for 1. You can either exert to look at the top 3 cards of your deck, and each character of cost 2 or less goes into your hand. The rest go to the bottom of your deck in any order. And Puppy Love, when this character quests, if you have 4 or more other characters in play, your other characters get +1 lore this turn. You may want to find room for a second puppy, because this is kind of a finisher and one of the ways that you can really benefit these puppies and help them be that extra bit of aggro, because not many of these characters are questing for 2. So maybe you want to find room for another Lucky. I'm also just playing 1 copy of the new Perdita, 4 cost Inkable 1/4 quest for 2. When she quests, the next puppy you pay costs 2 less, and your puppy characters gain ward. I'll be honest, besides Lucky, there's not a lot of reason we really want to give any of our other puppies ward. Obviously, Lucky is the best reason to, but Patch already has it. Do we really care about giving ward to Freckles or Pepper or Rolly? Maybe Pepper because of the static ability. But Freckles gets her ability as soon as she's played. So is Rolly. We'll come to that in a minute. So I'm not sure how much it matters. If you were going to lean more into Pepper and Lucky, which may be the right decision, then maybe you would want to increase this count of Perdita. I'm just running 1 for now. I mentioned Rolly, 4 cost Inkable 2, 3 quests for 1. And on play, you put a character from your discard into your inkwell face down and exerted. So you may already see the kind of curve we want to take here. Most of the time we want to ramp on 2 with either Tipo or Sail, and then on 4 we want to play Rolly with the expectation that our turn 1 Lilo or Stitch or maybe Daisy Duck or Patch has gone into the discard by that point, so this is helping us ramp. I'm also running 3 copies of The Colonel. His training was invaluable in infiltrating the palace. I love the Colonel. 5 costing, and this art goes hard. Look at him with the tower in the background. My G, old sheepdog. 5 cost Inkable 3, 6 quests for 1. While you have 3 or more puppy characters in play, this character gets +2 strength and +2 lore. So again, the idea here is to go wide and have those puppy characters in play. And if that's the case, then this is going to be a great questing character with a really nice stat line. Survives Along Came Zeus. What a day. 2 copies of Thunderbolt, who has puppy shift, can shift 3 onto any of our puppies. Makes sense to include him. He's a bodyguard, 3/7 stat line. Pretty nice. And now we come to our Floodborn Perdita, 6 cost Inkable, 4/6 quest for 2. She's a shift 4. When you play this character, you may put all puppy characters from your discard into your inkwell, face down and exerted. That is a pretty nice payoff, even if you've just managed to get, like, say, 1 Patch, 1 Freckles, and either a Pepper or a Rolly in the discard by then this can be some pretty insane ramp. She's got a great stat line, questing for 2, so this Perdita is definitely one of the better puppy synergy cards overall. We're also running 1 copy of Perdita Devoted Mother from Into the Inklands, 6 cost uninkable, 1/6 quest for 2, and when when you play her and when she quests, you can play a character with 2 or less from your discard for free, of which you can see we have a plethora. And it just makes sense to include a one-off Perdita, that's the theme, right? And we're also running 1 copy of Pongo, 6 cost uninkable, 5/5 quest for 2. At the start of your turn, look at the cards in your inkwell. You may play a puppy character from there for free. So maybe you ink something yourself, maybe you put it there courtesy of something like Rolly. The ability is a little slow, but it's a pretty nice payoff and synergizes really well with this Perdita. She puts them in the inkwell, Pongo puts them back on the board. And you can see we're running a Rockstar Stitch engine. We've got Rapunzel and Pongo for draw, which can potentially be enough, but this Stitch is also going to provide that, and he's going to provide a way to flood the board with a lot of our high questing characters, Daisies, Lilos, more patches, more freckles, all that sort of thing. And you can also see in the 3 cost slot, we skipped over her, 2 copies of Lady, who quests for 2, and on play you can play a character of cost 2 or less for free. So again, just flooding the board is the name of the game here. So a lot of cool things we could do, but we have no removal here. We don't have characters that are good at challenging. We are looking to just overwhelm as much as we can. We get some cheeky ramping off courtesy of things like Rolly, who's just fueling for the discard, a character that quested and then was taken out. We play some puppies, they go to the discard. We have Perdita put them into our inkwell. Hopefully Pongo brings them back. The other Pongo is drawing us hopefully lots of cards, and we just need to find the right turn where we can just flood the field and win the race. It's not great. A quick look at other puppy-related cards. You see here the Dalmatian puppy. This is better if and when we get something along the lines of look at the top 5 cards of your deck, any copies of Dalmatian puppy specifically you can play or go into your inkwell, or it's in a prediction sort of deck. I'm not a huge fan of this one. There's Canine Crunchies for extra willpower. Meh. Roger just heals 1 damage from a puppy. Super meh. Rolly, 3 cost. Ability not really good enough. Meh. There is this Lucky, who I feel like I might have missed when I was doing my initial build of this deck. 3 cost uninkable, 1, 3 quests for 2. Whenever he quests at the top 2 cards of your deck, you reveal any number of pups. No, I didn't miss him. I think there was a point where he was in the deck. We are running a okay amount of puppies, but it's not even half the deck. If this hits nothing, it just feels really bad. Questing for 2 is okay. Again, if you really want to play a one-off Lucky just because you love puppies and you want to play as many of them as possible, I think that's perfectly reasonable. Lucky is definitely one of the better ones, and there's Television Set where you can exert, pay an ink, look at top card of your deck. If it's a puppy character, reveal it, put it into your hand. Again, like if there were a lot more puppies in the deck, then maybe, but I think there's too many characters here that aren't puppies that we do want to play, so I don't think they're great. I think the most reasonable thing you might want to do concerning changes is maybe you want to add a second Lucky, and maybe you do want to add a counter to a Perdita. I think you only add extra Perditas, the 4 cost inkable 1/4. If you're running extra Luckies, like I said, I don't think there's a lot of reason to protect the other puppies. So yeah, if you want to change some of these counts, I think that's reasonable. But yeah, if you just want to play puppies, I think this is a nice place to start. Alright, next up, let's look at some pirate locations, me hearties. So, this entire deck is built around 2 cards. We have the retro Into the Inklands John Silver. For each location you have in play, he gets an extra law and resist 1. And we've also got Mr. Smee, Efficient Captain, 3 cost uninkable, 3/3 quest for 1. Whenever you play an action that isn't a song, you may ready chosen pirate character. So the idea here is simply to get John Silver to as high a law as possible, quest him, and then have enough ink that we can play enough actions in a row to just keep re-readying him and keep questing him. We could also potentially do some leaps with things like Mr. Smee, who obviously quests for 2, and we are running 4 copies of Daisy Duck. Whenever one of your pirate characters quests while at a location, draw a card. We don't have much card draw. We've got quick shots and improvises, but that's and ransacks technically. And we're running docks, but not the sturdiest of card draw. But Daisy Duck and hopefully gonna provide that. We're running a lot of locations anyway. She quests for 2 herself, so I think she's a really nice addition to this deck. We're running 4 copies of Deville Manor, 4 Hidden Cove, and 4 Seven Dwarfs Mine as our locations of choice. You may want to find room for a couple more, something like Nottingham, which is a 2 cost 1/7 with 1 passive law gain. Might be a 1/8. No, I think it's a 1/7. I don't think you need to add too many more. I think you could add 2 more locations, and that's reasonable, but I think 12 could be enough. And then on the lower end, we're running 4 copies of Captain Hook to be an aggro character to, like, be something that we've got that actually can challenge. And 4 copies of Pete. When you play an action that isn't a song, you can banish chosen item. Obviously not a ton of items in format. You might run into a Maui's Fish Hook or, like, the Maurice's Workshop, things like that. So this is nice to have for that reason. More than anything, they're here because they are pirates that we could potentially put at a location while Daisy Duck is on the board and draw extra cards. We're not even running the Floodborn Pete, and you could try and find room for him, but I don't know where those cuts come from. We're also playing 3 copies of Grunage. When this character quests, you pay 1 less ink for the next action you play this turn, and like again, as well as being a pirate that can quest at a location and draw his cards because of Daisy, that's not a terrible ability, especially because we're trying to get this sort of OTK online with Mr. Smee and hopefully John Silver and play a lot of actions. So this is a way that we're going to play hopefully 1 more action in that turn. And then yeah, to talk through the actions, 4 copies of Improvise. This is like our bread and butter. This is the action we want to see when we're getting our combo going because it's drawing us another card and it's inkable. 1 Fire the Cannons and 3 copies of a Boom. You could absolutely mess around with these counts. Unfortunately, this is 16 uninkables in this deck. Most of the Rogue deck lists I've shown, I've kept a super low uninkable count. But this one, you can't really get away with it. We're really relying on Docs, Daisy, and Quickshot Improvise to be the card draw that we need. But we are also running 2 copies of Desperate Plan, a new action, 3 cost uninkable. If you've got no cards in your hand, draw until you've got 3. So kind of providing extra Docs in a sense. They're not the same, but they serve similar functions. Running 4 copies of the new Quickshot, deal 1 damage to chosen character and draw a card. One of the most solid additions to this kind of deck. And I'm running 3 copies of Ransack, draw 2 cards, then choose and discard 2 cards. It's another cheap action we can play to trigger Mr. Smee, and this is hopefully helping us find the next action for us to play. Or maybe we're at a point in the game where we need to like dig for another location to get us up to enough lore, whatever it is. But again, the name of the game here is playing actions that aren't songs, that are then hopefully doing something to progress the board state, draw you more cards, help you dig, whatever it is. And 2 copies of Do It Again, which allows you to take an action from your discard and put it back in your hand. Hopefully no explanation required here. So yeah, a super solid game plan. Like, if they're able to remove the John Silver, then we super cry. Like, you could play the Mr. Smee and then hopefully have enough ink to start the combo immediately. Sometimes you'll need to pray that Mr. Smee survives a turn. So it can be pretty touch or go, but if you can get it going, it seems really powerful. I think this looks a lot of fun. So if you wanted to build a pirate location deck, this is where I would start. Next up, we're going to look at Ruby Steel Mushu Report. Now, Ruby Steel is a deck that's gotten very interesting as of late, and I think there's a few different ways that you could build this archetype. This is what I've decided to go for. I'm not running the new Mushu Floodborn. We've got a couple of new Mushu cards in Reign of Jafar, and maybe I will build a deck like playing around those specifically. But here we're playing off of the set 7 Majestic Dragon. Your characters that are challenging gain resist 2 for that challenge, and if you banish one of your opponent's characters, gain 2 lore. So challenge matters. I've opted to play a Whole New World variant here. We've got 4 copies of Whole New World. For that reason, we're running a 4/4 Robin Hood line, plus Robin Hood just plays into the theme of the deck anyway. We want to be making challenges, and Robin Hood gains you lore when he makes challenges. He is our primary singer for Whole New World, unless we just wait until after we've stuck down one of our other 5-drop characters. We also have the Mulan line in here. The 1-drop going to be great for filtering us through, finding us the cards that we want for the optimal curve. Because you see, we've got the Flynn Rider line in here, so maybe we're looking for the Flynn, maybe we're looking for the 3-drop. Mulan's just super solid, and her Floodborn is really important to this deck. Shift 5, 5/6 quest for 2, evasive, and when she challenges a character, your other characters can challenge ready characters this turn. So you just need 1 character to be on the board exerted for Mulan to be able to challenge, and then suddenly all of your characters can challenge, and hopefully we're getting lore with Robin Hood, we're banishing things and getting the trigger off of Mushu. So you see how this deck is trying to function. But again, I mentioned earlier, we've got the Flynn Rider line in here, 4 Sisus, and I'm running 1 copy of Prince John as well. Whenever your opponent plays a character, deal 1 damage to this character, 5/5. I think this is actually a really solid card. I'm more thinking of it as like 5th Sisu, like 5th turn 3 character, which really puts on the pressure for the Flynn Rider. And I want to be careful of the uninkable count. We've got Smees and Calhouns for stats. Running 3 copies of Raya. When you ink, you can ready chosen character, and they can't quest for the rest of the turn. This is hopefully going to allow for multiple challenges. Again, we're benefiting from challenging Robin Hood, Mushu. We're also running 3 copies of Stitch, Alien Troublemaker, 4-cost inkable, 3/4 quest for 1, and I win. During your turn, whenever this character banishes another character in a challenge, you may draw a card and gain 1 lore. We already have a Steel Simba who's kind of similar to this. I think he's also a 4-cost. When he banishes a character, he draws a card, but this drawing a card and gaining 1 lore, I think is really, really solid. So I think he's a super nice addition to this deck. We've got a Pluto here, just a one-of, maybe like just to protect our questing Sisu and Mr. Smee. Maybe it's the 4-drop to follow up the 3-drop to keep Flynn Rider online and keep that pressure on with a high static character. 3 Maui, again, control the board and challenges matter in this deck. And we found room for 1 copy of Ratigan, very large mouse. 5-cost uninkable, 3/3 quest for 2. And when you play him, exert chosen opposing character with 3 strength or less. That is the main reason we are playing this character. It's another way of exerting our opponent's characters down so that we can get these challenges off. And again, once you hit something on Mulan, suddenly it's open season. And choose one of your characters and ready them. They can't quest for the rest of the turn. So again, similar to Raya, where one of our characters is re-readying and challenging again. So I think Ratigan is really solid. I actually think you might want to find room for a second, but 1 is probably right because we got the 3 Mulan, but another really important card in this deck is One Last Hope. 3-cost uninkable song. Chosen character gets resist 2 until the start of your next turn. If a hero character is chosen, they may also challenge ready characters this turn. Our heroes are Mulan, Robin Hood, Flynn Rider, Sisu, Raya, Stitch, Maui, Robin Hood, and the Floodborn Mulan. We got heroes aplenty, and so this is a really good way to be able to get our initial Mulan online, or maybe it's not the Mulan, but it's just, you know, just taking something out, and Mushu's on board, so we're gaining lore. That's the name of the game. 3 strength for a Raging Fire. Maybe you want to find room for the 4th. Again, we've got a lot of emphasis on being able to challenge ready characters and having a lot of, like, big guys. So I think we've got ways of dealing with characters, and maybe 3 is enough. As I mentioned, Whole New World is going to be our primary draw engine, but I'm also running 1 copy of Beyond the Horizon. 7-cost uninkable. Sing Together 7. Choose any number of players. They discard their hand and draw 3 cards each. So this can, like, you can disrupt your opponent if they've drawn a lot. Discard all that, please, mate. Just draw up to 3. That's much more manageable. But it's another way for us to be able to refuel our resources. We could sing this on turn 5 if we curve like Sisu into Raya or Pluto. Then on turn 5 we could play her on Beyond the Horizon, get ourselves 3 new cards, and then continue to apply pressure. We'd probably rather wheel, but it depends on the board state, right? If our opponent's depleted their hand, then we would rather Beyond the Horizon. So this is my take on Mushu Challenge Matters Ruby Steel. Like I said, I think there's a few ways you could go about building this deck. Some people might want to play more Prince Johns. And again, there's a variant here where you play the new Reign of Jafar Mushus. But I never got a chance to do my rogue decks for Arcasia's Island. This Mushu Majestic Dragon I think is really cool. Did get a couple of new toys with Reign of Jafar, so I wanted to show this off. So yeah, this is what I would start with. And the final deck to take a look at today, we've got Painting the Roses Green. So another card that came out in Arcasia's Island that I never got a chance to release my Rogue Decks video to feature her is this incredibly interesting Queen of Hearts Unpredictable Bully. 5-cost uninkable, 2/6 quest for 2, shift 3, and if I lose my temper, whenever another character is played, put a damage counter on them. So, first thing to say straight away, a lot of the best cards in this deck just fall to Brawl. And that, yes, Brawl really dismantles a lot of the strategies that this deck wants to implement. But if they don't, it's just really, really cool. Being able to just have any character that comes down, whether it's yours or your opponent, takes damage. Super interesting ability. So why do we want to do this is then the next question we need to ask ourselves. We've looked at cards in the past that care about damage being either on your side of the field or the opponent's field. So how do we take advantage of this? Why do we want to do this? We could build it with something like hyenas, who have abilities that specifically trigger when challenging damage characters. And I think that's an interesting way you can go. It's not the way I've decided to go with this particular deck, but hyenas are cool. You got to know at some point I will build a hyena deck to work with this Queen of Hearts. But that's not what we're going with today. I've decided the card that I want to really help benefit from this Queen of Hearts is Prince Philip, Vanquisher of Foes, who shift 6/6, quest for 3 evasive, and when you play him, banish all opposing damaged characters. This is how I'm going to get my value from Queen of Hearts. But of course, if there are any other characters that benefit from damage being on the board that we can play, then we will do so. And you can see we are running 2 copies of the King of Hearts, 3/3 quest for 2. Damaged characters can't challenge your characters, just straight up. So that's an incredible lock to put on your opponent. Again, this King of Hearts is probably getting removed by a Strength or a Raging Fire or a Zeus or something like that, but whatever. And then we're also running 2 copies of the Queen of Hearts, Haughty Monarch. 4-cost Inkable, 2/3, quests for 3, and while there are 5 or more characters with damage in play, this character gets +3 lore. So a lot to ask, and then for her to survive, whether it's Strength or Brawl or Gust of Wind, yeah, we are asking a lot. But if it does survive, and if we do have those 5 characters on the board, which again, with this Queen of Hearts, hopefully we can somewhat like prepare for this. We can build our strategy around getting these characters on board. I think that's more realistic than this Queen actually surviving long enough to quest. But if she does, quest for 6, mate, we had to put a couple of copies in here. You had to know it. So yeah, these guys like damage, but Prince Philip really is the payoff. We are also running 2 copies of Anna, who of course can discard or give +2 strength, but most importantly for this deck, banishes a damaged character. You have to pay 2 more ink when you play her to trigger that, but obviously a super solid effect that we're going to benefit from, courtesy of the Queen of Hearts. I'm running 1 copy of Beast Wolfsbane from first chapter, 5-cost uninkable, 4/4, quest for 2, rush, and on play, exert all opposing damaged characters. There were points where this was 2 Beast, maybe you want to find a second. I do think it's a solid card. And again, if we got our Queen of Hearts online, should be online more often than not. I'm also running 3 copies of Scar, Vengeful Lion, 4-cost inkable, 4/2, quest for 1. Ward, whenever one of your characters challenges a damaged character, you may draw a card. Now, at one point I was running, instead of the Scar, I was running the other 5-cost inkable Queen of Hearts, the ruby one that lets you draw a card whenever one of your characters challenges. Doesn't need the specification of damage, is another shift option for our Queen of Hearts, and we're running Morph. I've opted to go with Scar purely because this has Ward. We're already so weak to steal, and there's an argument there to be said of like, well, you're already losing to it, so you just might as well go the full way and not even care about like trying to defend yourself against it. But if you want to go Queen of Hearts, I think that's fine. I like this Scar. I think he's cool. I think the Ward could come in handy. You notice as well a Clarabelle engine here, our primary way of drawing cards, along with hopefully the Scar. We're running 4 copies of Card Soldiers. If there's a damage anywhere, he gets +2 strength. Super well statted, and I think this is a perfect deck for him. 4 copies of Morph. We've only got 4 copies of the Queen of Hearts. There are other Queen of Hearts that we could run. Obviously the 1/4, which is really good in purple decks. But there's not a lot of cards in this in combination that can raise strength. Like there are a couple. There's Vicious Betrayal from the first chapter, which is +2 strength to a character or +3 to a villain. Didn't really want to run that. I just said to myself, instead of running extra Queen of Hearts, I'm running 4 Morph. These are my extra Queen of Hearts shift targets, because a lot of the time you do want to get this Queen of Hearts shifted on 3 and like get your strategy rolling, right? So I think 4 Queen of Hearts and 4 Morph is fine, and of course the Morph can also turn into the Clarabelle or the Prince Philip. Ursula's, because of course we want to snipe those B preps, and for Prince Philip we need a shift option for, like, again, we've got the morphs, but I want another shift target, and this Prince Philip being warded, questing for 2, I think he's just a really solid card. And then I'm running 3 Brawl and 3 we don't talk about Bruno for removal. And then yeah, the last card, the Dormouse, 2 costing 1/2, quest for 1, on play, put 1 damage on chosen character. So if something was already down that your Queen of Hearts wasn't able to get damage on, this is a way of doing it, so that your Prince Philip flip, set up your Scar, set it up so that your King of Hearts is live, so that character can't challenge. Set up your Arna. This Dormouse is a fantastic addition to this specific deck. So yes, it falls quite easily, and I think, like, if you get 4 or 5 turns in, and then suddenly they do get rid of your Queen of Hearts or whatever, like, I think this can fall apart drastically. This is, again, another one of the weaker decks. I think better than the Puppy deck, and I think very cool, and, like, this will do things more than the Puppy deck will. But it will also fall apart just as much as the Puppy deck. But I think it looks a lot of fun. I was so keen to build around this Queen of Hearts. And again, I think there's so many ways you could build around this Queen of Hearts. There's a couple of cards missing here that you may like. Ring the Bell is a card. The 3-cost Inca will banish a damaged character. If you want to run that, I think that's fine. Again, we've got the Arnas here. And again, the Prince Philip is like what we're building around here. So that's why I didn't really feel the need to run that. There's versions of this deck where you might want to build around Beast Relentless. You might want to include the 2-cost uninkable Queen of Hearts as another shift option, and again, her ability should be online more often than not. Another really solid inclusion in this deck could be the Mad Hatter, Unruly Eccentric. I probably should have found room for at least a copy or 2 of these, more than anything because he fits the theme, but he is a pretty solid card, so I think this Mad Hatter, if you want to find room for, is perfectly justifiable. And then again, if you just really want to play into the Wonderland theme, obviously Alice, clumsy as can be, and Tweedledee and Tweedledum both have synergy with what we're trying to do here. They're part of the Alice in Wonderland crew, so if you want to lean even further into the theme, then by all means play those. Like I said at the beginning, the priority here is always like playing into the theme, and like you could make the theme of this just Alice in Wonderland, which is partly the case here, but the theme of this deck I've made specifically the Queen of Hearts ability. And again, a couple of those Alice cards do synergize with her. I thought this was the best way to like make this deck as consistent as I think it could be, but there's definitely a lot of room for adaptation for this deck. But this is my starting version of painting the roses green. And that is it. So you've now had a total of 10 rogue decks for the Reign of Jafar. Super glad I got to do this. Obviously, once the set is released, we're going to be very much focused on the meta game. And as I prepare for World Championships, that's also going to be my focus from a studying and research standpoint. But I do love a rogue deck, so I'm glad I got to do these. And I hope one of these decks has interested you and maybe you'll give it a try. But that's going to be it from me for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you're brand new to the channel, please subscribe for all things Lorcana. Hit that like button to show your support, and we'll see you soon.